YouTube, I'm back. 5 things to talk about. Interesting round of stuff this time around. Um, we got a little bit of everything. A couple games, a TV series, a movie, a book. So let's dive right into it. And I always like to start with my books for some reason. And this one I got for Christmas, and it's on my list of future books to buy, or it was, from a series, a movie series I love. 2 movie series, a combination of 2 movie series that I love. That the book universe has been expanding over the years. It's picking up steam. It just keeps going and going, and I love it because all the books from each of these franchises are really entertaining and present some new and different ideas within these realms. They're not just like rinse and repeat of the movie plot lines and stuff like that. So without further ado, Aliens versus Predators, Rift War. This story takes place on the planet LV-363. There's not really much on this planet. It's called Rift War because this planet is dominated. The landscape is dominated by these big seismic kind of rifts that scar its surface, and within these kind of canyons that the rifts create, there grows, I can't remember what, Cathura, something like that, some kind of plant called Cathura. And the pollen these plants emits is like a very potent narcotic. So this is like a drug that's in very high demand. So there's a cartel that scours planets for this plant, and once they find it, they set up shop, and they use addicts to descend the rifts on these lines and harvest the pollen, and just basically in trade for keeping these addicts alive and keeping the flow of drugs going. So there's a cartel that oversees it. So they're on this planet doing their thing. Little do they know, trouble is coming. It's going to be the site soon of a blooding of some predator or yautja, whatever. So basically, for the predators, a ship shows up in system first, and the person on the ship is in charge of the like planting the alien eggs on the planet, and getting it ready for the young predators to come to the planet, do their hunting, and become blooded. So this ship arrives, this guy lays down all the eggs, but he doesn't depart the system like he normally would. He's hanging around to watch. The next predator ship shows up, and there are 4 adult predators, I think, on it. 3 are leading 3 different distinct hunting parties of, I think there's 4 young yautja in each party, plus the commander. And then there's 1 overall yautja that is overseeing the whole thing. So they arrive on the planet, and the whole thing is, we don't let the humans see us. We go in, we hunt the aliens. Hopefully all of you will become blooded. Hopefully nobody will die. But there's always risk, right? Now, there's going to be a lot more risk this time around for these yautja, because the guy that did the seeding of the planet with the alien eggs has some sort of vendetta against one of the hunt leaders. And so he's chosen this planet specifically because he knows the native wildlife on the planet, if impregnate it with an alien egg, is going to become something fierce and probably wipe out the yautja hunting parties. And the creatures in particular that do the most damage are these creatures called riftwings, which are like basically large birds. Like, I don't know if they're pterodactyl size, but they're huge birds, and they're almost like mosquitoes in that they have this proboscis and suck their victims dry, sort of thing. So combine that with some alien DNA, and soon you'll have a flying xenomorph, right? As if they're not hard enough to kill already, right? Now they're flying, right? So it just turns into this fight for survival, both from the human side of it as well as the yautja side, as the xenomorphs start taking over the planet and having all these mutations, and all hell breaks loose. Awesome story, awesome story. Next up, the movie we watched lately, and it's called Bullet Train. Some people loved it, some people hated it. I tend to love most things that I know I'm gonna love, and this is no exception. This movie was wacky. So It's obviously takes place on a bullet train somewhere. I can't remember, in Japan somewhere. The ultimate destination is Kyoto, um, I believe Kyoto. Um, and so we see all these people get on the train. Uh, there's this guy who's looking for this person who supposedly pushed his son off of a roof, and his son is in hospital now fighting for his life. So this guy gets wind that this person is on the train. He's going on the train to look for this person. There's two assassins, Lemon and Tangerine, who have tracked down this young man who is the son of a Russian yakuza crime boss. So they're bringing this kid back to his father, and they also have a briefcase full of cash for this crime boss. Ladybug is kind of like a con man sort of thing, and this is the Brad Pitt character. He gets on the train, led by his kind of handler in his earpiece, and he's trying to steal this briefcase full of money. And then we have some other people show up along the way. A kind of a crime boss himself, not really a crime boss, but a bad seed from Mexico named the Wolf, who is looking for vengeance against the person who poisoned his wedding party and killed his entire family, including his bride-to-be. And there's a couple of other ones. Oh, a young girl called the Prince, who looks all sweet and innocent, but turns out she's a nasty bitch. And there's one other one, a girl that arrives as well, and she had something to do with the Wolf killings. So it's all these shady, zany, weird, funny characters getting on this train, going about their individual pieces of business, and they all end up intersecting in various ways, and the results are violent and also hilarious. Like, it's like a Pulp Fiction kind of thing, right, where bad things are happening but you're laughing your ass off, right? So it's one of those movies, and the action scenes are amazing, and the whole thing is filmed in a really cool and weird way. The way they introduce characters and whatever and give the backstory, just the way it's filmed is really neat and different. And then it's colorful too, because I mean, it's in Japan, right? So on a bullet train, like there's all the neon and stuff like that, right? So I really enjoyed the movie. I didn't understand people who said they didn't like it. I was like, maybe I'm just not picky, but I didn't see what there was to not enjoy about this movie. So take that for what it's worth. Most people do. Next up, this is a Star Wars TV series, and as you know, I have to order my Star Wars series on DVD from across the world, because I don't want to pay for Disney Plus for the rest of my life just to watch Star Wars shows, right? I want to own them. This one is a very neat one I was always very interested in, but it kind of flew under the radar when I was like so wanting to get Mandalorian and Boba Fett and Obi-Wan, right? But I got it, I watched it, it's really cool. It is called Star Wars Visions. So this is 9 cartoons. They're not full like 22-minute episodes or whatever. They're shorter, varying lengths, and they all come from various artists and animators in Japan, I think is where they all came from. So they all have a distinct kind of more kind of anime, the East kind of influence to them all. And some of them are like, they could maybe fit in canon. Like there's, I don't know if they do, but like some of them involve like the First Order. Some of them involve some like made up events after the Clone Wars with some battle droids and stuff like that. Whereas some of them are just totally out there, and it's like, it's in the Star Wars universe. Things look Star Wars and sound Star Wars, but characters we've never seen before, things that don't really fit in, but they kind of do, right? So it's a really neat series, and a really different kind of take on Star Wars, right? To see it through the minds of a bunch of different people. My 3 favorite episodes, the first one is called The Ronin. It's like this traveling kind of Jedi or Sith, traveling in robes like a Ronin, right? Just out on his own. He's got a little droid with him, and he comes in, he's on this rural planet, he comes into town and starts talking to this guy that owns a tea house or something like that. And he's kind of a weird fellow. The Ronin, not well, they're both kind of weird. But all of a sudden, this town gets attacked by these bandits, and the bandits are led by this what looks like some sort of Sith lady that is crazy. So the Ronin, you know, presents himself eventually and battles her, and kind of, you know, it's apparent that he's got some sort of history to do with the Force and being either a Jedi or a Sith or whatever, right? So that was a neat story. My two favorite, though, the first one was actually the second episode, I think, in the series, and it's I forget his name, but this he was a young Jedi, like just a little kid, when Order 66 came through, and he escaped in this hut named G. Took him in. He's like, you can join my band called Star Waver, I think it was, something like that. So he brought this little kid into his band, and they eventually, Star Waver got huge, right? They started gaining notoriety. They started playing everywhere. But eventually, G, the Hutt, was taken in by Boba Fett, because this G is related to Jabba the Hutt somehow, and Jabba was pissed at G for some reason for not wanting to be part of the family business. I can't remember exactly what, but Jabba captured him and was going to execute him. But his buddy, that G rescued all those years ago, was like, you know, like, can we just play one last gig on Tatooine before you execute G, right? So they play this concert, and everybody's like, fucking Star Waver, fuck yeah! And so, like, they basically trick Jabba into sparing G by, like, proving how popular and how powerful they could be as a band, sort of thing, right? That was a really neat story, because it really didn't have anything to do with, you know, battling and stuff like that. It kind of did, but not really. And it was this different kind of weird take, using music to create like a Star Wars story, right? And it was a rock band too, even better. Like, so I really like that story. Arguably my favorite. But this other one is the other one it's in contention with as my favorite. It takes place, I don't know if it's regular Star Wars or a imagined Star Wars, but it takes place well after the Jedi are gone from the galaxy. And this guy, I can't remember his name, Joru or something like that, he invites 7 Jedi to his aerial temple, where he has an announcement to make and whatever. And what he plans on doing is presenting all of these Jedis with lightsabers, because lightsabers and lightsaber making has been lost along with the Jedi. But the first kid to arrive, the first Jedi to arrive, I think his name is Ethan, and he's like, well, where is this guy that invited us here? So he's hanging out, whatever. And then all the other ones show up eventually, right? And so they're all like he invites us here and he doesn't even show up, and so they're just hanging out waiting for this guy. Down on the planet below this temple, the guy that's making the lightsabers, he's finishing them all off, but he ends up getting attacked by people, like bad guys that are hunting down Jedi and stuff like that. And he sends his daughter Kara off with all the lightsabers to head up to the temple and deliver the lightsabers. And she also is Force sensitive. So she gets up there, she distributes the lightsabers, and then finally the guy that invited them all up there, he reveals himself. He's been there the whole time. He's inside of this droid that's kind of been like placating to all of them. And I didn't expect this twist, and this is a spoiler, so I've already probably said too much at this point, and I'm going to ruin it for you. But spoiler if you don't want to hear anymore. But this was a really cool moment, and it's like, so this guy invited all these Jedi up there to give them lightsabers and help them continue on to, you know, rebuild the Jedi and continue on the ways. And they all light up their lightsabers, and they're all red. They're all bad guys, except Ethan. He's the lone good guy, along with the guy that invited them up there, Joru. So they start fighting these Sith and trying to defeat them. And then Kara also gets involved because, like I said, she's Force sensitive, and she grabs the lightsaber and joins the battle too. It was such a neat episode, and that twist when it was just such a subtle, like you didn't expect it, and nothing was said. It was just all the lightsabers go on at once, and they're all red, and it's like, oh fuck, like it just blew my mind, right? I was like, yes. So yeah, so those are my 3 favorite episodes, but there's 9 in total, some other ones as well. And I've heard they're gonna be coming out with a season 2 in the near future as well. I think in May or something like that. So, and it's not, I forget where the, I forget if it's in the US where these ones are coming from, but it's not going to be Japan again. It's going to be a different region of the world. I think it's the US, but I could be mistaken there. It could be somewhere else. Anyways, moving on, we have 2 games to finish this off. The first one was a download to my Switch. It was only 99 cents in the eShop. My buddy Civ told me about it. He said, this game is actually pretty decent, and it's only 99 cents. So I was like, okay, purchase. It is called The Giana Sisters Twisted Dreams, the Owltimate Edition. This game apparently was a Wii U release from a ways back, and I think they revamped it, expanded it a bit, and kind of reworked it to go on the Switch as a download. And yeah, it's pretty good. It's for 99 cents. Like, it was such a good price, and it's a decent game. So the story behind it is that there's these 2 sisters, Maria and Giana. Maria gets kidnapped by this weird flying dragon called the Gurglewalkie, and so you set out as Giana to rescue your sister. There are 4 different worlds, each with their own theme, and the level distribution isn't quite even, but overall there's 40 total levels spread throughout these 4 worlds, and you just have to battle your way through the levels in each world, and the last level in each world is a boss fight that you have to partake in. Now, the twist to this game is that Giana has almost like split personality disorder, right? She's got 2 different sides of her personality. So you can play, you just press a button and she switches between the 2. When she's a blonde, and when you switch between the 2 aspects of her character, it changes the landscape and everything around you. So when she's blonde, everything takes on a more desolate look. The trees are dead, the bridges are broken, like everything's more run down and shitty. And then when you switch to her other mode, where she's got like this bright pink hair, everything's like leafy and green and bright and sunny, and it's gleaming and perfect, you know. And so when you switch between different areas of levels will change and open up or close off or whatever, right? So you have to it's almost like it's a lot of action, but it's also a lot of puzzling as well, in a way. And her 2 different aspects have different abilities too. So when she's purple haired, she can do like a dash sort of thing, a powerful dash where she dashes across. She can bounce off people when she's doing that. Whereas when she's blonde, she can jump up in the air and then kind of twirl around like a helicopter and just kind of float around. So you also have to use those different abilities to solve different areas of the levels and stuff. So really neat game. It took me a lot, like 40 levels. They're not short levels either. So it took me a good long while to beat this game. And the difficulty isn't, it's not super hard, but it's not easy either. It's got some difficulty to it along the way. So you know, for 99 cents, it looks really good. It plays great. It's long. It's challenging. It's just a really solid game, especially when you pay less than $1 for it. So highly recommend. My buddy Civ bought it. You know, he's trying to find games that he's got 2 young daughters, and the older one especially is showing a little more interest in video games. So he's trying to find games that might work for his girls, right? So, and he thought this one would be a good fit. So it might be, you know, also a good kid game kind of thing, right? So the other game, the last item on this list, is one that we've had experience with before with a previous entry in the series, and we now got another one, and this game is awesome. This series is awesome. And the game in particular is Super Mega Baseball 3. The Super Mega Baseball franchise is a really zany kind of baseball game. Think of like a cartoon character mixed with like a Muppet, and you have kind of the style of players and characters that are in this game. They're all like really exaggerated and zany, and the bats are huge, and and it's a really interesting looking game and a lot of fun and funny. But that being said, it's an amazing baseball game. Like it plays so well as a baseball game. So you kind of get this because so many sports games anymore are like trying to be so realistic as a simulator, right? This is a good sim for baseball too, but it takes it the other direction, right? It's more cartoony, it's more fun, it's more kid oriented maybe, and it's amazing. So the first we played Super Mega Baseball, the first game on the PS4. Oh, I can't remember when that was. That was a while back, and I have gameplay footage from that somewhere on my list. If you care to watch any of those, you'll have to dig back quite a while. Um, but this one, in that original one, like it was even more cartoony than number three. Like the people in the stands behind like home plate, like some of them had these huge, massive heads. Like they look crazy. In number three, they've they've kind of smooth things over a little bit to make it's still got that zany kind of look to it, but it's made a little more realistic within those zany parameters, right? Everything's a little more towards normal. But it plays almost exactly the same. Like if you've played one Super Mega Baseball game, like you can pick up another one and get going on it right away. They keep everything consistent. The team names are crazy. It's like we always play with the wide loads, but like there's the platypi and the herbivores. Like it's crazy teams. The characters, the players in the games, all have these ridiculous names. My favorite one is Slapper Glute. um, yeah, like I said, there's just the controls on this game are perfect. The games can be close, they can be blowouts. You can adjust your difficulty level really finely, so you can find that perfect level where if you want things to be super close and realistic, you can put it there. Or if you want to sometimes just have a fun game and hit a lot of home runs, you can lower it down. Or if you want to really be challenged, you can raise it up. Like it's really neat that way. Um, and They have all sorts of different modes. There's like exhibition, season, pennant race, elimination. And then new to Super Mega Baseball 3 compared to the first two, there is a franchise mode, which is all the rage nowadays with all the sports games, right? There's always a franchise mode. And also they've had some online play compatibility with previous games, but in Super Mega Baseball 3, I think it's the first game that's had actual online like full leagues available to play, which we haven't played at all. But that's one game I would not mind playing online. I think that one could actually be pretty fun. So, anyways, amazing game, so much fun. If you like baseball, if you like baseball video games, I would highly recommend this game. They're not cheap, but they're not expensive either. I think it was like maybe $27 or something like that for number three. I think number two is actually more. I think it's more like 37 or something like that. And I don't know how much the original one is. So they're not like super expensive. They're not like the $80 new release price, but they haven't come down as much as I thought they would. But when you consider how good these games are, I would not hesitate to pay $30 for that game again if I had to, right? I considered getting number two, even though we've played one and three. I'm highly considering getting number two for $37 because I just want to play them all, and they're just so much fun. So take that for what it's worth as well. I'm already working on the next 5 items. I've got 2 in the bank already, so hopefully I'll be back maybe next week. If not, for sure the week after, I'm sure. And I'll get to bore you with more tales of my ridiculous life. Toodles. Meow.